Hey there, it's Gerard Rovira, and I'm a front-end engineer on the Lexical team.
My name is Maksim Harbacheuski. I'm a software engineer in the Meta working on a Lexical core team.
Text editors enable us to broadcast thoughts via text, but the best text editors go beyond raw text, go beyond plain words. They deep dive onto the rich text realm, enabling the most complex visualizations. So, for example, like media, tables, diagrams, and many more. And there's also a place for like real-time collaboration and AI enhancements. And the Lexical framework makes all these experiences possible. Like developers can utilize Lexical to build these robust, delightful products in a very easy manner. Apart from that, Lexical offers a more controlled approach to text editing than it is, let's say, the DOM. Like the DOM offers something that's called this content editable, where you can like literally paste any kind of like text, and it kind of like renders in a pretty easy manner. But often this flexibility is insufficient to be able to spin up a rich text editor quickly, and that's where you want Lexical to kick in and offer you this layer on top that enables you to validate stuff like I've mentioned, and being able to have a toolbar, and basically being able to like build things on top that are very production ready. Yeah, so the main principles for Lexical are accessibility, reliability, and performance. And it was in fact the need to solve the most complex accessibility problems what led to the creation of this framework. Lexical is a dependency-free framework, and this means that there's no React and there's no immutable JS. But this doesn't mean that you can use React, and this doesn't mean that we don't do immutability. In fact, we still provide first-class React bindings, and it can be used with any other framework or library, like for example like Svelte or Vue. And also like Lexical evangelizes immutability. However, the fact that this framework is dependency-free enables us to have more control over the DOM and also its event system to ensure that we deliver the best accessibility and performance that we can. It's also worth saying that text editors, unlike most of applications that we can see, do require excellent performance, do require a minimum of 60 frames per second or 60 milliseconds per key press. And Lexical has shown to perform at 3 milliseconds in the playground with the latest MVP, and has also shown up to 30% performance gains a Meta. Apart from that, like Lexical was built to be extensible. You can get started with just 25 kilobytes, and then you can keep adding things on top depending on your needs. So for example, we have tooling for React 18, and we also have tooling to support Markdown. Another key decision that we made for Lexical, which is strongly connected to performance and reliability, is to have editor state double buffering. For reference, the editor state is a JSON-like representation of what you can see on the DOM, and that can be serialized and transferred over the wire. And Lexical double buffering means that instead of like taking all those changes from the DOM and putting them on our model, we have a secondary editor state that we keep accumulating changes to it, and later we reconcile them onto the DOM. This not only enables us to have tighter control over the input, but it also allows us to batch multiple changes at once, which, considering that rendering is one of the most expensive operations onto web, being able to batch multiple changes at once means that we can save ourselves from doing multiple rendering.
Lexical is a framework agnostic, and it can be used with vanilla JS. But since we heavily use React in Meta, we also provide the bindings for React, and there are a few community-built bindings for frameworks like Solid and Vue. The easiest way to start with Lexical is to go to Getting Started Guide in the docs section of lexical.dev, and it will help setting up the Lexical editor instance that is attached to content editable and handles user events. Then going through the core concepts, documentation will help to understand the extension points of Lexical, and here are the few things that we recommend for newcomers. Almost every operation in the editor is a command that is dispatched based on user events and handled by one of the Lexical packages or plugins. But any of the command can be intercepted by another plugin and overridden or supplemented to redefine default behavior. It's a pub subsystem that provides the communication between lexical modules to enable fine-tuning for specific use cases. Node transforms allows updating nodes before DOM reconciliation, and it makes Lexical much more performant compared to regular update cycle. For example, emojis, hashtags, autolinks plugins are heavily relying on transforms. Lexical React package contains several examples of core plugins that show how those commands and listeners are used. And finally, for the broadest variety of plugins, you can check out Lexical Playground source code. Some of those plugins are experimental and used as a showcase for lexical capabilities, but in general, it's a great source of inspiration. Lexical was started with an open source in mind, and building a strong community behind that is the key to its success. We have pretty active community in a GitHub, but it really shines in a Discord where people can come up and discuss their questions or use cases with the core team members and other developers who have been working with Lexical or contributed to it for a while. We also held our first virtual meetup with the core team members in the community and plan to do it in future as well. Although Lexical is a young project, it's being used across Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp applications and has shown great reliability and performance. If you are interested in exploring how Lexical makes text editing faster, more accessible, and reliable while providing great user experience, then check out lexical.dev Getting Started guide and join Lexical open source community on GitHub and Discord.